Hey, Miss Job, 7th grade math class. This is a video to review a few quick examples of how to calculate volume of prisms and pyramids. Your first step is going to be to identify if it's a prism or if it's a pyramid. Remember that pyramids meet at a point at the top. Prisms do not meet at just one point. And you only have two types of prisms, rectangular and triangular, and you also only have two types of pyramids, rectangular and triangular. You do not have to memorize those formulas for volume of either one of those types of figures. Use your formula chart to look them up. So remember, for volume of a prism, you always start with the basic formula, V equals big B times H. Remember that big B equals area of the base. Not just the base, but area of the base. So you are either going to be finding the area of a rectangle, or you are going to be finding the area of a triangle. And we've done practice with both of those shapes. Remember that height is the letter H. Okay? So it's the measurement that's going to connect your two bases of your prism. And it may not be tall, it may be from one end to the other, depending on how your prism is laying. For volume of pyramids, you don't have to memorize that formula either. Volume equals 1/3 big B times H. And again, big B stands for area of the base, and H stands for height. And again, the two bases that you're going to have are rectangles or triangles. So we're going to work a couple of examples together in the video. Make sure you copy these two examples down. Actually, we're doing 4. Make sure you do the 2 on the front and the 2 on the back, and that will help you to go and solve the rest of them. The first page we're going to start with is the volume of prisms examples. This should be problem number 1 and problem number 2 on the front of your practice sheet. So we're going to start with our general formula for prisms. Volume equals big B times H. So the first thing we're going to do for our prism is we are going to find our base. So if I look at our first prism, I've outlined our base for us, and I know that shape is a rectangle. So I can actually know that I'm going to replace the big B with the shape of a rectangle. So now I'm going to look up the formula for that rectangle and the formula for area of that rectangle. And if you want to, you can put the measurements. So those measurements are 7 and 10. So I'm going to replace that formula for big B with the area of a rectangle. So that was little b times height. So base times height. Then we are going to have the height of our entire prism. So the height of my prism here is going to be 5. So you can see with the color coding it makes it a little easier. So now we're ready to substitute. Base is 10 times my height of 7, and that's just for my rectangle. And I put it in parentheses to make it easier. Then times the height of my whole entire prism, which would be 5. So 7 times 10 is 70, and 70 times 5 gives me my volume as 7 times 5 is 35, and add the 0. So my volume would be 350 inches squared for that rectangular prism. Okay, let's have a look at our next prism. The first thing I'm going to do is identify the bases, and for prisms you have 2 matching bases. Remember, since that you only have 2 types of prisms, rectangular or triangular, if you know it does not look like a box like example number 1, then it has to be a triangular prism. Find the 2 triangles. Okay? So we're going to start with our general formula. V equals big B times H. And our big B, remember, stands for area of the base. Well, our base is that triangle. So I'm going to draw that shape in. And I can put the measurements of that triangle. Here it's 6 and 8. So now we go to our formula chart and look up the formula for that area of a triangle. So remember, it's base times height, and we want half of that. So 1/2 base times height, and all of that is for our triangle. And then we have the height of our prism. Remember, it doesn't always have to be standing up. That height of that prism is the length that connects the two bases together. So our measurement is going to be 12. So now we're ready to substitute in. So I have 1/2 times my base and height of my triangle are 8 times 6. Then I want the height, or the length, that connects the two triangles together, and that measurement is 12. So we can take half of 8 right away, and that gives me 4 times 6, and then I want to multiply that by 12. So 4 times 6 is 24, and we'll have 24 times 12. So when I multiply 24 times 12, I end up with my volume for my triangular prism being 288 meters cubed, because volume's in cubic units. Okay, so pause here and make sure you get these two examples. And when you are done, then you can flip over to the next page. The next two examples that we are looking for are volume of pyramids. So remember, our general formula is that V equals 1/3, and remember 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3, big B times H. And big B stands for area of the base, H is the height. So we're going to start with our first example. Remember, you only have two types of pyramids, triangular or rectangular, and your first job is to find the base. So I have identified the base of this is a triangle. So we have a triangular pyramid in our first one. So we're going to start with our general formula. B equals 1/3 big B times H. So we're going to replace the big B. Our base is a triangle. And if you want to, you can draw that triangle and put the measurements. So that triangle looks something like this, with a base of 4 and a height of 12 on that triangle. So we have to go replace and drop down 1/3 times our area of a triangle formula, which is 1/2 times base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. And we have that in our picture already. Then we have the height of our whole entire pyramid. So let's substitute in our numbers. I have 1/3 times 1/2. Remember, what's in parentheses is for the base, times my base of 4 times my height of 12 for my triangular base. And the height of my whole entire pyramid is 6.4, so we have a decimal this time. Makes it a little more challenging. Well, I'm going to start here. I'm going to take half of 4, which is 2. So I have 1/3 times 2 times 12. And we're going to multiply that by 6.4. So 2 times 12 is my next step. So I have 1/3 times 2 times 12 is 24 times 6.4. So you can wait to the 1/3 at the end, but remember 1/3 is dividing by 3. So I know that 24 will divide by 3. So I know that my problem now looks like this. 24 divided by 3 is 8 times 6.4. So we're going to multiply that out. 6.4 times 8. And that's going to give us our volume. We've already done our half, we've already done our third. So once I work out that math, There's one decimal point in my problem, so there has to be one in my answer. My volume for that pyramid is 51.2 cubic kilometers, and that is the answer to that problem. So we have one more that we're going to look at together before you start your practice. So the first thing that we're going to do for example number 2 is find our base. So I've identified my base as a rectangle. So we're going to write our formula down. Volume equals 1/3 times big B times H. So my B this time is a rectangle. And those rectangle measurements are 8 and 6. So let's plug in some formulas here. 1/3 stays the same. I find the area of a rectangle by using base times height. And then I want the height of my whole entire pyramid. So now that I've identified all of those pieces, I am ready to do some number plugging in. So the 1/3 stays the same. The base and height of my rectangle we get from my picture right here. So my base and height are 8 times 6. And the height of my whole entire pyramid is 9. So we can do some math. 8 times 6 is 48. And then we have times 1/3. And then times 9. So I know that 48 is divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and take my 1/3. So I've worked out 48 divided by 3, and I've got 16. So I'm going to have 16 times 9, and that's going to give me my final volume for this pyramid. So once I completed that math of 16 times 9, I end up with 144. So my volume is 144 cubic yards. So that completes a review of how to find volume of prisms and pyramids. So you are going to work on the practice problems that are on this sheet. I do not necessarily expect for you to complete all of them, but you should definitely have more than the 2 examples that have been given to you in this video completed on that sheet. I will be taking this paper for a grade tomorrow, and it will be collected at the end of this class period. Okay, so use these as your guides. Ask questions if you have them. Use your formula chart. Remember, rectangles and triangles are the only bases that you should be having, and those are the only formulas you should be substituting in for that big B. Okay, see you on Friday.